Hey one and all, welcome back to the channel. I want to begin by saying a hearty hello, 1,000 thank yous, and an absolute apology as we dive into taking a look at the new Transformers Siege Voyager class Springer with a lot of custom work done here in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, your very, very humble host this week, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe while you're at it. That's right, hit the notification bell because it lets you know when new content goes up of any sort. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and me everywhere across social media. And here we have Springer. Now, I began things by saying a hearty hello just because I wanted to say a hearty hello to you guys. Next, I wanted to say the 1,000 thank yous because in the past week, not only have we kind of reached and surpassed the 2,000 mark, but so many people have offered so much support with so many things that have happened this week. It's been very, very busy. I was very fortunate enough to be a guest on Around 30 Minutes with Matt Deluxe Baldwin. It was a blast. He's such a good guy. If you haven't checked out my Around 30 Minutes with him, please go check it out. I was also one of his guests on a very recent Talk Transformers Live, which was also a blast. We talked about kind of favorite accessories and what sort of gimmicks we might like to see up and coming in the Siege line. So again, if you haven't checked that out, head over to Deluxe Baldwin's channel after this and have a look for yourself. And I was also a guest this week on the Sit Rep with Patri Prime. Another fantastic guy, great friend of the channel. Again, if you haven't checked out the Sit Rep, check it out. It was so much fun. We really went off the rails, but it was a blast doing it. And you know what? I love doing that stuff. I love interacting with people. I love kind of getting as many ideas out there as possible. Hopefully I'll get some opportunities to do things like that very soon in the future. Coming up this week, we're also going to be kind of discussing everything shown at Wonder Festival because a couple of people have already asked me what I think about some things there. We're going to do that in a separate discussion. This week is also going to be the premiere of the first episode of Season 2 of Universal Collision. Things are about to get very interesting, but the focus today is going to be on this lad. And I got him a little while ago, and I've had a lot of people asking, where's the Springer review? Where's the Springer review? I had custom work to do on this guy to get him the way I wanted him to be, and some of the things that I had to do with him were more challenging than I thought they were going to be. At the end of the day, I'm kind of happy with how he turned out after I did the work on him that I did, but does that make him a good toy or not? And is he guilty or innocent of the recent price increase for the Siege line? Well, you know what? I think I've rambled on and talked about miscellaneous stuff enough here. How about we head over to the table and dig right in to take a closer look at this guy. And so with all apologies for the delay in getting to this guy, but like I said, it's been a very busy week. I wanted to kind of stick in that vein for just a moment, and I want to welcome a bunch of new people. Give a few shout outs here to Henry Vernies, Mike Coe, GW, The Squat Crafters, Space Case, and Retro Revival, among many others. To everyone who's new here on the channel, once again, thanks for hopping in, coming along for the ride, taking a chance on me to bring you something interesting, some interesting things coming up this week indeed. But the focus right now is on Siege Springer, who I'm shocked arrived so early in my area. I said a while ago that I didn't expect the dude until about October because distribution here has been really bad, but I'm tickled that we got this guy, and I would have had the review up sooner, but I had to get the custom work done on this lad that I wanted to get them done. By the way, much thanks for all the love that I've gotten for the Siege Blaster custom. If you haven't seen that yet, check it out. It really seems like the custom work has been getting a lot of extra attention lately. Maybe we'll do like a custom showcase with some of my older pieces, some of my newer pieces. maybe talk about what I've learned along the way, things I would have done differently if I was doing those same customs now. Anyway, that being said, we're going to start off and take a look at this lad's box first. And of course, it's a Siege Voyager box. It is what it is. It's shaped funny. Over here we have nice artwork of Springer. You'll notice he does not have that battle damage mess on his chest or on his shoulder pieces, or probably even on his shins. If we go on the back here, you will notice that we do have the product images as always. Of course, the battle damage is on his legs, on his shoulder pieces, and on his chest. And I get it. There's an argument to be made for keeping it there. He's a nice looking figure, certainly in robot mode. I haven't been sold on the way the battle damage has been done, and I've talked about it before. Nevertheless, you know, it's generally a nice G1 inspired mold. Not perfect, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But nevertheless, that is the box. And he comes with some beauty instructions. Of course, my favorite part here would be this page right here. You can see that the his sword thingies, whatever they're called, they are great for accuracy. They're all right for strength. I don't know what the one down bottom is for that. His blaster is, you know, again, quite strong. They're honestly, his sword and his blaster have very kind of similar stats. Mostly, the blaster's a bit stronger. And then the configuration down bottom that my thumb is partially covering, is a configuration that I don't really like. But next to it is the final blaster. Like, there's two different blasters. And that final blaster is obviously his strongest one. Nevertheless, I do like having these stats for all of the accessories. Speaking of the accessories, our guy comes with this blaster here. It's all right. It does have an opening in the end. That will be important later on for when these two blasters go together. Speaking of blasters, here's his other one. I like this one way more. It has the little section on the tip for the blast effect. It has the 5mm peg on the back so that it can go attached to the other one to become a longer blaster, which will be important later on. We have this here connection piece. It's all right depending on how you use it. We have two of these sword pieces. They're also the rotor blades of his helicopter mode. We use this little rectangular slot down by the handle. A lot of people have complained about it. We'll see how well it works with mine. As well, for helicopter mode, people have asked if the sword and rotors from the Generations figure can work with the new Siege figure. We're going to do a pretty in-depth comparison with the Generations figure as we go along here. And so here we are with Springer, and you can see that I've done a pretty significant amount of custom work here. I'm just going to very kind of quickly run through it so that you can know what I did. Up top on his shoulders, we had the battle damage put on over yellow paint, which was put on over green plastic. If you tried to remove the battle damage from the shoulders, you were going to also take off the yellow paint. The yellow paint was on there very thick, very well done. That being said, I went and I found a outside paint, it's called. I guess you would use it like to paint items outside, metals for example, and I got a saffron yellow. And I watered down my brush to reduce brush strokes after applying a couple of coats. And then I kind of kept adding coats until I had the battle damage covered in. It is the same yellow as the yellow that was on there. So it's a saffron yellow in acrylic paint. I use an outdoor, it's called outdoor paint. I don't know what else to tell you, but I can tell you that it's acrylic. That being said, when we get to the chest, there was battle damage there as well. Now you'll notice that I have not taken off the Autobot symbol. Removing the battle damage from this guy's chest is brutal. I was actually I was about a day and a half removing the battle damage from his chest. It involved the technique that I showed a little while ago in episode 499. Now that being said, it wasn't quite enough to do that alone. It has also come to my attention, thanks to friend of the channel Tim, that you can remove the battle damage with it takes some work, but you can also remove it with some water and a magic eraser. I used a mix here of the technique from 499 with the 91% alcohol and a magic eraser. I used both of it. It finally got it off. I'm not going to pretend that it's not a brutal amount of work, especially when you're trying to avoid doing anything to the yellow or the Autobot symbol. Down on his legs, I used the same technique because that was difficult to get off because we're not removing it from a flat surface. I painted the kneecaps to be silver. So, what about scores for this guy? Well, before we get into the scores, I do want to kind of do one thing, and I want to add his accessories onto him. Normally, when you see the accessories done for this guy, based on the instructions, you have some sort of a thing like this, and it's loose on his back, and you know, you can probably place the couple of blasters in on his shoulders or something, because this guy has, you know, ports on his arms, on his shoulders. There's 3 on his back. I don't think there's any on, oh no, there are ones on his legs, so there's a lot of places to put the blasters and the swords. That being said, one of the scraplets was fiddling around with this guy, and here is what he came up with so that none of this moves, and it works well on mine, though I have seen other people try it and it not work well on theirs. First things first, we take this connector piece and it will go in the center, but we put it in using one of the pegs that does not move around. We take this blaster and we put it in there and angle it down. We take this blaster and we also put it in there and angle it down. You could put the sword pieces on the side of this blaster. Note that for later. But for me, I use these pegs on the side. I have heard of other people trying to use these pegs on the side, and that the result has been that it's extremely loose and the swords like to fall off. That's not been the experience that I've had. So going forward, for the rest of robot mode, we're going to leave his accessories on. Normally I take them off, but we're going to leave them on today so we can see just how well they actually stay attached or not as we go through. So that being said, let's get him front on again and begin giving some grades here. And as I turn him around, you can see that we have him next to the Generation Springer here. Now, a long time ago in episode 75, when I looked at the Generation Springer, I said that his paint was actually a 9. And I said it because there was no mistaking it was Springer. Even though it was highly stylized, this is definitely a comic book iteration of Springer. No doubt about it, and the new Siege one is definitely a more G1 inspired Springer. That being said, is the new Siege one perfect? No, it's also not perfect. Even with the work that I did on him, we still have a couple of things worth noting here. First, the shoulder pieces on the new Siege Springer should, like, the orientation of this piece should be more down on his shoulder rather than straight up on his shoulder. The actual upper arm should be a dark green, kind of like the outside of the forearm here. The entire forearm should be a dark green, and the hand should be the same color as the face and the leg. That being said, this is still a highly accurate G1 Springer. You're not mistaking it at all. I'm going to say that it too is a 9, but for different reasons. So both of these Springers, in terms of their paint apps, they're a 9, but for different reasons. Right now, all I can say is that this guy has had 2 fantastic iterations of his character. What about the articulation? Well, I said the articulation on the Generation Springer was a 10. Honestly, I don't know how they could have improved him. Maybe the argument could be made. Does he have a wrist? He does have a wrist swivel. The argument could be made that maybe the Generations 1 needed ankle tilts, but everything is ratchety, clicky, everything is fantastic on the Generations 1. It's a near-on perfect figure, if not perfect. That's why he got a 10, and to this day, I would still say he's at least a 9.75. Very, very good. What about the Siege one? Well, let's get the Generations 1 out of the way and take a closer look at the articulation for the Siege one. So comparatively, this guy has a head that can go left and right. Actually, it can go all the way around, just like the Generations. It can't really look up. It can wiggle up and down a little bit. The Generations one has a much freer motion of up and down movement. So the Generations wins on the head. Then we have the arms. The shoulders, they can go up about that far, cannot go all the way around, cannot go all the way back around. We have a range of about 270 degrees. Why can't it go around? There is a joint back there. It's nothing you are going to be able to sand down or get out of the way. There's a joint back there for the shoulder that is just in a millimeter or so enough that it kind of, bars up on the molding. If the shoulder was out maybe 2 millimeters, we would have just had the clearance. So, I suppose you could say that's unfortunate, but I don't know. I don't know if it needs to go all the way around. It has a wide range. In terms of going out, it can go well out to the side. Well out to the side, maybe even a little bit more if you fiddle with the shoulder piece. And it's a solid out to the side. Like my generations one, I've talked about that his shoulders have gotten a little loose over time. So I kind of like the outward movement here better. We do have a bicep swivel. We do have over 90 degrees at the elbow. We do have wrist rotation. So comparatively, oh, and I just knocked that off. It didn't really fall off. I kind of really put way too much pressure on that. But comparatively, the arms are quite good. The waist, well, the Generations one, I discovered during his review that he has a waist. That being said, wow, I say that being said a lot. That being said, his waist is highly hindered by back pieces. The waist on this guy is there. Again, it too is hindered by certain molding, but I think you get like an acceptable range for what you'd want. You get a range like a person would have, I think, for the most part, unless they're like a contortionist or something. They do a lot of yoga. Maybe they would have a better waist swivel. But generally, I think it's an acceptable amount. When we talk about the legs on this guy, again, getting the arms out, the legs can go all the way forward. They can, especially if we get the backpack sort of out of the way here a little bit. The legs can go back further than the Generations one. We have a knee that is over 90 degrees. It's a soft ratchet, not like the kind of more clicky ratchet of the Generations, but it's over 90 degrees. If you really want a deeper knee, you can also use the Transformation joint. It's almost sort of like a double knee bend, I guess. We have ankle tilt to the side, very, very far actually. And we have well forward and even back a bit. Now, a lot of people have said that Springer likes to be back heavy and lean back. He does a little bit. A lot of people have also said that the way his ankles are, he will fall forward because the ankles are loose. My ankles aren't loose. I was highly concerned about that. But the kind of QC issues that a lot of people have experienced with Springer, I haven't really experienced. Kind of like with my Ironhide, the leg flaps are fine. Sort of like with my Starscream, his chest, you got to do some work to pop it off. I think I really, really lucked out here. So, all that being said, oh, and also, I didn't show this last piece, but I will now. We have full splits. The guy can do full splits. I'm going to say that the articulation on the original Springer was a 9.75, even though originally I said a 10. I'm going to say the articulation on this guy is about a 9.5. It's excellent. It's stronger in certain ways. I think certain joints are stronger. And he does have the ankles, but the range of motion on certain joints isn't quite as much as it was on the Generation Springer. Pretty close, but not quite as much. So, if we're looking at total scores so far, the Generation Springer has an overall score of about a 9.35. This guy has an overall score of about a 9.25. Very, very, very comparable so far. What about the transformation? That's really the main crux of what we got left to cover here. Well, we're going to get into that. You will notice we got through all of this, and except for that one time that I pushed too hard on the sword, everything stayed on this guy. If I turn him around, just so you can see, for this one here, like, if I just tap on it, it's not going anywhere, man. It's fine. Same over here. If I just tap on it, it's not going anywhere. Like, I need to put a bit of effort into it. I will take this off for the conversion. You will notice as well here, I did not remove the battle damage on the roof section. Here's why, because that roof section is, I do believe, either green plastic or is it clear plastic? It might be, no, it's green plastic, I believe, with dark green paint on it and then the battle damage over that. I can accept it on his backpack, I can accept it on the roof of the vehicle because it's not something you really see in robot mode. Again, if I'd taken it off here, I would have had to totally repaint the roof. It wasn't worth it to me because I kind of like this dark green as it is. So, for transformation, we're going to go to helicopter mode and then finally to vehicle mode. I believe that's how we did it before. I think we went to helicopter and then vehicle. We're going to do the same thing this time around. So, without any further ado, let's get this guy turned around and get the conversion started. Okay, so going to helicopter, it's not that it's hard, you just have to know how things move. There's a couple of little tolerance issues that bug me, they might not bug you, but we're going to begin by doing the easiest things first, and that would be starting with these arms and opening out this wing flap piece, pulling out the whole dark green forearm piece and rotating it. Don't push it in yet, because we have to come up to the shoulder and we take out this little flap and this little flap, and there's a 5mm peg there, and the hand will come up. And that 5mm peg will peg into the hand. Then you can take this dark green piece and kind of flip it around. There's one shoulder done. On the other side here, we will do the same thing. We open this out and open it out. We open out the entire piece there and rotate it around. We bring the whole thing up. And we should be able to tab that hand in to that peg. And with a little fiddling on my behalf, because I'm a Butterfingers, this one over here did not want to quite peg in. It's because I didn't have the piece straight. You guys probably noticed it before I did. Okay, so then we kind of unclip, I'm saying unclip, the shoulders here. And they kind of clip in, and I say clip because there is a little hook. They kind of clip in behind right there. We can then take the entire kind of body section and sort of like hinge it back so that we have room to get this piece out here. We flip out these little pieces on the side just so we can begin to like use this set of hinges in here. We pull it forward and kind of up over the head. But when we pull it up over the head, we need to sort of angle the head forward and the whole thing here forward to get this down under the edge of the lip right here so that we can kind of roll it up into place. And then you roll it down to go back, you roll it up to go into place here. And then if you didn't have these already straightened out, you can straighten them out now. And by rights, you're supposed to turn the head around. I forgot to do it. It's not a big deal. It really doesn't affect anything. So, that being said, we can now collapse the body. And then we're going to bring these up on the side here for now. And we're just going to kind of leave them there for now because we have to do the lower body first. And that's a little bit of a chore from here. Let me reorient things so that we can deal with the little bit of work that we have to do on the lower body next. Okay, so things get a little challenging here. And we're probably going to end up having to take those out to the side. Like, this is a bit of a pain to show, but I'm going to try to do it. We take the hip and we bring it down. We take the hip and we bring it down. So we bring both hips down. Then we're going to take the side and bring it out. And take that side and bring it out. And you'll notice then that these two inner pieces start to come apart. But hold on a second. How are we going to fold this up? Well, this is where you need to rotate the thigh around. And then you can straighten that whole piece out. Rotate this thigh around and you can straighten the whole piece with the tire out. And now these two bottom pieces here are able to clip together. it's fairly secure once you do it. Now that you have that, I do still advise kind of holding on to it. Now you have to get this piece up around. But if you're anything like me, one of your biggest nuisances is what do you do with this foot? You have to flip it all the way back like that, and then, see if I can figure this out. Oh, and then flip it in, and then flip it over. And then this comes up on the side. Like that. I'm going to try and show it better from this side here. You flip it all the way back. Like that. You flip it all the way back. And then you rotate it in. And then you flip it up. If you're struggling with what to do with the feet, do that. Those are the steps that you need to do. You bring that up. When you bring that up, you have a little clip here and a little clip here that kind of go in on the legs. Okay, so as I was saying, this whole backpack section, it comes down and there are rectangular tabs that tab in on the feet, or they're supposed to. It's iffy how well they do it, but it kind of clicked down there just then. Finally, we have the arms, and we have a little rectangular tab here on the side, and on the arm itself, we have a little slot down right there on the forearm. I don't know if you could see it, but that's kind of what we need to line up to get the arms locked properly into position on both sides. And they will go down like that. I need to just kind of fiddle with things slightly to get them locked into position. And once you put those forearms on over those tabs and then squeeze the shoulders in, this is what you're left with. Now, by rights, what you're supposed to do next is take the connector piece and, using the space here, slot that in on that side. Slot that in on that side so that now you can put that up there to be his rotors. They're able to go around, no problem. But some people have asked, can you use the sword and the rotors from the Generations figure if you're so inclined? You can, but that being said, now the gray is a different type of gray. I don't know if it looks weird, but it works just fine. There's no reason why you can't do it if you want to do it. The green is a nice match, to be honest with you, but the gray, not so much. Speaking of the Generations, here we have both of them in their helicopter mode. I don't know, which helicopter do you prefer? The Generations one is definitely more angular and stylized, and I think I like the deeper, richer yellow on the Siege one just a little bit better. One transformation to go. So one left to go. This is the last one, ladies and gents, so we can begin by taking that out and taking this and this out. We can also lift up the back piece there and just have it up over for now. We can come to the sides and unclip them. We can unclip the hands, rotate around the forearm piece, put it in, and put the thing, the little wing back in as if we were going to robot, but then straighten this up again. And this side keeps wanting to be challenging for me. Just tab it in and leave it for now. We're going to do the same on the other side. And see, now we have tires on both sides. We need to deal with the back section next. And to deal with that back section, it's probably best to get the arms out of the way and reorient things slightly. In essence, what we're doing is going back to robot mode here. So we take this piece down, we take this piece down. We split the legs, we bring the hips back up, and we bring the hips up and hips up. Then we take these pieces and fold them in and fold them in. Naturally, we're going to have to turn the thighs again because the wheels are there and they need to now be on the outside. So we turn the thigh, turn the thigh. Oh, I forgot to do one thing in the helicopter mode. I'm going to do it now in the vehicle mode before I forget. There's also little, if I can get them. There's these little wing pieces. They were supposed to be up for helicopter mode. They're supposed to stay up for vehicle mode. I always forget about them because they're such a small piece. There. And in helicopter mode, when we talk about the coloration, another reason he's 9 is because the entire leg section is gray. Most of that should be green with just the tail fin being gray. Okay, so now that we have that done, we take the feet and we flip them out like this. And we bring this up over and is this right? No. There, that's right. That's the way the feet should be. So on this side over here, just to try and show it to you properly, we take the foot down, we flip it around. Actually, we take the foot down, we flip it up, and then we flip this around. So that's the way it should be. Like when he has a leg, this is his foot in leg mode. Like when he's standing up, you just take it and bring it forward for vehicle mode. Bring this up over. Now, these little gray flaps fit into little, like the little gray heel flaps, I guess, fit into little sections right there next to the, I don't know, windshield, I suppose. This foot over here went underneath. This is a mistake. You can see the mistake maybe here. This foot's up over, this foot's underneath. When you finally have the feet in the proper location, you can bring this piece down over. It again locks in over the feet. And now you need to deal with these arms. And again, it's not hard, but you need to know what you're doing. There's a little rectangular tab there. That slot that was on the forearm that we used earlier when we tabbed it on the leg in helicopter mode, now that same slot needs to go over this little tab here. I suggest putting it over the tab and then pushing the shoulder in. So you kind of come to the side and push it in like that. It's a bit of a nuisance to do. Come to the side and then push it in over like that. That was the easiest time I ever had doing it, which is funny because the rest of this conversion on camera here, I think, has been pretty harsh, man. Pretty harsh. Now, for the accessories, I am going to give a shout out to one of the Scraplets because he came up with a way to attach everything here so that none of it moves and doesn't swing around, because everything that I've seen everybody do puts everything onto this piece and puts it in here and it swings all the way around. Don't do that. That's awful. Just don't do that. So what can you do alternatively? Well, first, put those two blasters together and then slide this piece on over. You're going to use the handle that I'm holding onto to affix this onto the top of the car. Then you can put that sword on that side, and you can put like that sword on that side, for example, and do this. And ta-da! There you have Springer in his vehicle mode with a piece that does not rotate, or if you're inclined like me, you could take all of this off, and here's one last thing you can do here. You could put these in facing forward or reverse, whichever you prefer. That came untabbed. Oh well. You could take this piece and place it right there, and then you can take these sword pieces and using his like backpack connection, if you're anything like me, just put them on there. And of course this guy can use like the weaponizers and the battle masters and everything else with him. Here he is next to the old Generations counterpart. Which vehicle do you like better, the G1 or the sleeker sports car styled one? The transformation for the Generations I said was an 8. The overall score that I gave the Generations was a 9. I still stand by that. I think the Generations is still a 9. It's a fantastic figure. What about the Siege? Well, the Siege was at a 9.25, and I personally find the transformation to be a little bit more cumbersome. It's not that it's not well done, it is. It's just, it's difficult to explain and show because of the way certain things move. The chest, I wish that it folded forward more. The waist, I wish it had a full range. The shoulders, if they'd been out just a millimeter or so more, we could have had a full range at the shoulders. These slight little tolerance design issues kind of make it a very slight nuisance for me. I'm going to say that his transformation isn't quite as strong. I don't know if he'll have quite the longevity that the Generations one does. I'm going to say that the transformation for this guy, instead of being an 8, is about a 7.5 maybe. You know, it's about a 7.5. So overall, as where the Generations is a 9, I think the Siege is about an 8.5. Still a fantastic figure. Certainly captures the G1 look. But I don't know if it was quite executed as well as the Generations one, even though the Generations one in and of itself isn't absolutely perfect. What about Guilty or Innocent? Well, very simply put, both of these are great figures. Our Siege guy here, with all of its bits and pieces, is 151 grams of Voyager goodness, as where the Generations clocks in at 149. So the Siege actually does have a little extra weight. So while the Generations toy might be slightly better, even though the shoulders are quite loose on it, the Siege one actually does have more plastic and more mass in it. Probably more paint apps. So I defer to you, quintessime judges. Is Siege Springer guilty or innocent of the recent price increase? At the end of the day, it's a great figure. It boils down to which version do you want in your collection. If you're one of these people that wants both, hey, more power to you. If you're one of these people that only got room for one, which one do you have? This guy is a great option. There's no doubt about it. If you've been on the fence, it's fine. If you've been thinking, I don't think I need to replace my Generation Springer, you're also fine. Either way, you win. And here we are once again, and here Springer is, and you know, you've seen him compared now to the Generations one. In terms of the like paint apps and aesthetics, I like the Generations one, but I feel like now the yellow on it isn't great. Like the yellow on the Generations one looks cheap to me now. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a fine figure. It's a fantastic figure, actually. One of the best that has come out, I'd say, in the last decade. And I'm not, you know, it's better than this one by a little bit, but I do really like the yellow on this guy. The saffron yellow is a beautiful deep shade. Now, I'm glad I was able to find a match because I didn't dig the battle damage, but if you do, then you win. There's certainly nothing wrong with it if you like that aesthetic. Getting it off the chest was an absolute horrendous nuisance. Same with the legs. Not fun, man. Not fun. If you're thinking, oh, it'll come off easy, no, but I would highly suggest using a mix of the like rubbing alcohol technique along with a magic eraser, because it worked great. Shout out to Tim again for that tip. It really worked very, very well on this guy and protected the yellow and protected the Autobot symbol. I avoided it naturally, but it was surprisingly good. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. It was surprisingly good. The articulation is great, but like, you know, how come you couldn't make the shoulders maybe molded such that it goes out just a millimeter or two more, so that we had a full like rotation all the way around? I'm not sure if anything could have been done to avoid the like kind of waist limitation section. There's a green like pinned hinge back here, and that's what keeps the waist from going all the way around. I don't think there's anything you could have done with that. At least we have a waist. I'll give credit where credit is due. Besides that, I kind of like everything on him. If you have loose ankles, I feel for you. I really do. I don't even know if there's a realistic way to fix it because they're pinned. I lucked out, but I was real nervous, man. He's good, but is he excellent? That's the thing. He does weigh more, a little bit, by a couple of grams, but I don't know. Like, I think if you prefer the Generations, you win. If you prefer this guy, you win. I think Springer is lucky that he's had two excellent, excellent versions. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey, he had that deluxe version that turned into a helicopter. Let's not even talk about that because it has no place. No place anymore. Get it out of here. It doesn't have 3 modes. It's not good. It's not. It was a stretch for Springer to begin with. But now that we have 2 excellent versions, pick whichever one you like the best and works for your collection, or pick both. I don't know. Maybe you collect Springers, you know? Very different aesthetic, very, very different transformations, 2 fantastic figures. Let me know which Springers you like the best. You know I always like to hear from you guys. Again, I'm going to thank you for dropping by and giving me some of your very valuable time. I'm going to say hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps me out a bundle. Stay tuned, a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and I can't wait for you and I to have another visit either in the live streams on Thursday evenings or right here inside the videos.